Hello and welcome to another Tyrrell's Classic Workshop. The grisly subject of classic car air conditioning. Time to delve into that and for me to give my steer to those who are thinking of having it done, to the reasons why you shouldn't, to how it started, etc. Well, we know refrigeration was a fantastic invention where the state of the refrigerant, the freon, actually changes from gas to liquid on a constant cycle, a constant loop, at varying pressures and then transferring. So the essence is it provides coolth inside the car by radiating the heat from the inside of the car to atmosphere outside the car. Obviously the Americans very much blazed the trail with air conditioning. Cadillacs, I think, were one of the first manufacturers to have it, because of the hot southern states in the US, and other countries caught up. Mercedes-Benz in Germany, Rolls-Royce and Bentley in Great Britain, but they all use sort of generic infrastructure, really. There were two types of air conditioning compressors originally, both big, lumpy, heavy units. One was called the Frigidaire A4, which was a cylindrical compressor. And then there was the York compressor, which was a twin cylinder compressor with a cylinder head that you could rotate through 180 degrees, so it could either rotate clockwise and pump the refrigerant or anti-clockwise depending on the installation. The interesting thing about York compressors, I mean, these things weighed a ton. They were well north of 10 kilos each, the Frigidaire and the York compressors, but 22 pounds in old speak. But these two soldiered on for years and years and years on all the luxury makes of cars. And the York compressor, I don't know whether it still is, but up until recently, that was still the staple of tractor air conditioning systems when you're out driving your tractor in the glass house of a cab. They worked very well, and these two together, depending on which, I mean, Rolls-Royce and Bentley went with the Frigidaire A4, Mercedes-Benz went with the Frigidaire A4, the more exotic manufacturers, Maserati, Lamborghini, they went with the York compressor, and York actually made some concessions. They went from cast iron to aluminium, which made a big difference on the weight. I think it probably cut the weight by about 40 or 50%. Cars in the 1950s, air conditioning began to be an optional extra on Mercedes-Benz and Rolls-Royce and Bentley cars around about the late 50s, early 60s. The States had had it for years. And to varying degrees, they worked very well. The Mercedes and Rolls-Royce systems, using the Frigidaire A4 as the basis, you have a evaporator behind the dashboard, which recirculated air or air from inside the cabin is drawn in through the evaporator. The evaporator is very cold and the air passing through it gets refrigerated, and then it gets pumped round the refrigerant that's done its job through the condenser, as it's called, which is normally on the front of the car, but as I shall explain, not exclusively. And then the gathered heat from the cabin gets dissipated into atmosphere, normally in front of the car radiator, with a beefy electric fan on the front and an engine-driven cooling fan behind. That's the blueprint. The Americans were the benchmark in terms of effective factory-fitted air conditioning systems, but the European prestige manufacturers were not far behind, and they started to have factory-fitted systems in the early 1960s, which can still work well. R12 refrigerant, the original Freon, or one of them, got made illegal in the UK and in Europe in around about 1990. Car manufacturers had to switch to R134A, as it was called, which was a CFC-free refrigerant. And then you've got modern alternatives again, like RS24 and many other refrigerants, actually. But R12 got made illegal in Europe and Britain. I don't know about the States. I think it soldiered on for some time there. And then you had a particular oil in the compressor which was compatible with that refrigerant. And what people do, this is with the original factory fit air conditioning systems, they change the refrigerant, but you have to change the oil as well. And it's from, one of them is PAG oil, as it's called, and the other is ester oil. And it's very important that you get them correctly matched with the refrigerant. So you can update old classic car air conditioning systems. This is not particularly revelatory, just by way of background really. You can update old systems with modern refrigerants as long as you change the compressor oil as well, and they work very well. Now we move on to post-production installations, or more hand-built installations. So I'm thinking along the lines of the Maserati Ghibli, which was from 1968-ish to 1973, 74, around that time. And they used the York compressor, but it was actually suspended from a bracket on the front of the engine, a very Heath Robinson looking bit of kit. And the whole system, it worked, but it was quite compromised. And this is what I'm just going to talk about, is the fact that a lot of air conditioning systems on the hand-built cars, where the manufacturers didn't have the money, the R&D money that Cadillac, Rolls-Royce and Bentley, Mercedes had, and they had to sort of engineer an air conditioning system because that's what the competition were doing. And quite often they are not fantastically efficient. Like everything else, progress has moved on. Anything in the 1970s wasn't as high-tech and as easy to use maybe as they are now. Certainly from the operator's point of view, what's happening behind the dashboard and with the electronics is another matter. Lamborghini on the Espada used a York type compressor which was suspended from a bracket, again on the top of the engine, a couple of meaty dry belts driving that, and again it's the early Espadas. The Series 1 had a very complicated air conditioning system which served 2 units under the rear quarter lights by the back seats, so that because it was a 4-seater with plenty of glass area, lots of heat coming in, Lamborghini sort of went over the top. And as the Espada went to the Series 2, they dialed down the complexity quite considerably, because it was just unreliable and prone to leaks, and it wasn't particularly efficient and all that stuff. Same with Ferrari. When they brought out the 400, I think it was, in around about 1977, that again was a York compressor, and the system, they plumbed it all in. They had front and rear air conditioning as they advertised. It all got not fantastically efficient and barely fit for purpose. Then we move on to the third category, which is where they have factory-fitted air conditioning, but very reluctantly by the part of the manufacturer. I'm looking at one here. We've got 2 Muras here with factory-fitted air conditioning, which is very unusual. Only a handful of Muras had them. We always have Muras in here. They're our sort of bread and butter in a way, really. Gianpaolo Dallara was faced with having to integrate an air conditioning system into the car, and it was no mean feat to do that, actually. He had to rearrange the whole cluster of gears. The starter motor on a Miura is actually, the nose of the starter motor is actually in the crankcase, in the engine oil crankcase, getting fed with oil as well as electricity. And then you have a series of gears from the starter motor to the crankshaft, which the starter motor engages with. And you have to bear in mind that these compressors have a working envelope of speed. So they have to work from maybe 800, 850 RPM, something like that at idle, up to 7,500 plus if you're really pushing the car on. And the poor air conditioning compressor has to catch up with that and keep pace with it. And that puts a lot of, particularly when it's cutting in and out, when you turn your air conditioning on a classic car, you can be putting a lot of pressure and a shock load on the infrastructure around the engine, because there's a lot of energy required to drive an air conditioning compressor. You're looking at probably 15 brake horsepower, something like that at the top end. It's not inconsiderable. That puts a load on engines such as the Miura engine. In fact, Dallara had to rearrange the ratios of gears in this cluster on the side of the engine to make sure that the air conditioning compressor was operating in its speed window. And that was tricky. On a Miura, the air conditioning system is really, it's barely fit for purpose, and that's simply because they didn't have the room and the capability to do the job properly. On a front-engine rear-wheel drive car, like an Aston Martin DB6 Mark II that we've got here, we've just done some work on that car. There is a retrofitted installation in that, and because the car is front engine and it's got a big 2+2 cabin, there is plenty of space to put the air conditioning infrastructure in, a condenser in front of the radiator and then an evaporator built into the dashboard. And this system was done by Clayton Classics, and they've done a very, very neat job of it, actually, very neat, but they had the space to do it. A Miura, as I say, was a different matter. Gianpaolo Dallara, he had very little to work with, and it's quite the complicated system and compromise on the Miura. Another example, while I think of it, is the Citroën SM from the 1970s. Air conditioning was a factory option. The compressor, from memory, was the York type, and it was a bit of a tragic case because the air conditioning system was not driven off the crankshaft as it should be. It wasn't driven off the nose of the crank. It was actually driven off the jack shaft in the middle of the engine, which was driven by a chain from the crankshaft. And the shock loads of that compressor clutch cutting in to start pumping the resistance of the fluid round actually was one of the contributing factors to the Maserati V6 failing in the Merak and the SM because of the shock loads of the optional air conditioning. So I feel as though I've said a lot there, and there's a lot of ground to cover. One of the burning questions for classic car owners is, should I retrofit air conditioning to my classic car? Because I'd very much like to do so. I understand that. For me, the answer is probably no. I try to discourage people from having retrofitted air conditioning systems because a combination of all the factors I've talked about, the shock load of the power consumption cutting in, the lack of availability of room, the compromise using 50-year-old infrastructure, the ability to place things of suitable size, the condenser, the evaporator in the right place is not always easy like it is on the DB6. So there are a lot of reasons why I would discourage people from putting air conditioning on their classic car. But for those who have a modern car, which of course everybody does more or less, with air conditioning, even a tiny hatchback has air conditioning on it now, albeit a small version. If you want to get into your classic car and have air conditioning refrigeration, I can understand somebody putting their foot down and saying, I really want this. And the technical challenges have to be met. Another route is to have an electric air conditioning pump, not driven by the engine. And again, that presents problems because the power involved, the drag, remember I talked about 15 brake horsepower to run an air conditioning compressor, if not more. That converts into electrical energy that a motor has to drive. And that can take between 60 and 80 amps of energy to power the electric motor to work that compressor properly. And that is a huge amount. Alternators on classic cars don't go up to 60 to 80 amps, never mind anything else that has to be powered on the car. So again, there are challenges around that. Does a second alternator have to be fitted somewhere, for example? All these things are in play. Yes, if somebody wants an air conditioning system on their classic car, there are companies who have researched and developed modern day installations, and generally, to a certain extent, they work. But from a purity point of view, a lot of cars, it takes a lot of hacking and just re-engineering to even think about putting an air conditioning system in a classic car. This is going to increase. Access to classic car air conditioning is here to stay. It's going to increase, but some of it is a dreadful compromise, and you don't get the wafts of refrigerated air that you would like. I remember on the 50th anniversary of the Miura, I was a guest at the Lamborghini factory, and Olivier Nemesh and I drove the Italian job Miura. I think there were 23 or 24 Miuras on that tour, and it was hot. It was about 37 degrees, and it was hot. It's okay. We had the windows down. We were driving along. There was ambient air coming in. Got a bit sticky when we drove into the city centres in convoy and parked up somewhere, but it was still livable with the right clothes on. It was manageable. Are there systems available? Yes. Should they be fitted? As long as your expectations in terms of reliability and variance in quality and effectiveness of the air conditioning systems, make and model wise, are taken into account, yes. But it's a tricky subject. Some work far better than others. What are the takeaways from this? I'll let you decide. As you can tell, I'm grappling with this. There is no definitive answer. People were discouraged from having this air conditioning system on Miuras when they were new because they were so cobbled together, really, and that's nothing against anybody at Lamborghini with what they had available to them at the time. It's just the lack of space in the car. Well, that concludes another Tyrrell's Classic Workshop video. I hope you've enjoyed it. Please do remember to subscribe. It is very important, and we'll be back with something else very soon.